This is BullionMax, the podcast. I'm Mark Allen, along with Sean Reynolds, the customer service manager for BullionMax. And we're going to call this episode Housekeeping.
Housekeeping, good housekeeping.
Good old
Yes.
housekeeping, keeping the dust off your desk and maybe off your checkbook. Sean, let's talk about the fact that this is a brand new year. We're still at the beginning of the year. It's 2023. I can't believe it. But you've got some new coins coming in and you have some coins hanging around. So let's talk about that first.
Yeah. So what tends to happen around the turn of the year is slowly the new coins start to phase in, the 2023s. So there have been some that have been out for a while. Normally it's the Perth Mint lunar year coins that start first. So they start with the year of the rabbit, and those usually come out in fall. So that's kind of the kickoff of 2023. And then slowly the other coins will phase in. And of course, the one that most people are asking about after, when are you going to sell 2023 Eagles? And they are in stock, folks, by the way. Eagles, Gold Buffaloes, 2023s are here. But they want to know about the Britannia from the UK. They want to know, is the Queen still on there, or do we finally get to see King Charles III on Britannias? Well, we don't have them yet, but we anticipate having them soon. I understand some other retailers have been pre-selling them, and they're starting to show up in homes. We don't do pre-sales, so but we would anticipate to be able to make them available for sale about the time everybody else will. So should be February. We'll see.
And February is, as we record and have this posted, we will be up in February. So you should check the website, BullionMax.com, for updates.
Exactly. And here's the thing, Mark. What can tend to be collector's items, there's no guarantee of any collectability of anything. We all know this. But right, what can tend to be collector's items are first year of issue and last year of issue, especially if there are people who are collecting every year. Obviously, you need one, and you need the first one and the last one. So when you have people who are doing that, they're certainly going to want to get ones that have the Queen on it with 2023. That will be the last one. It's not going to be a big run because King Charles is coming in February. Well, that covers most of the year. So there are going to be certainly a lot more King Charles than there are going to be 2023s with the Queen on them. So and probably going to want to get both.
And we've talked about this in the past, that those Queen Elizabeth coins are collectibles because that was the last year of her reign.
And it's one of those things where obviously collectability depends on who you can sell it to down the line, but it is going to have that certain appeal for someone who reigned for 70 years. You know, clearly there's a lot of money and bullion in between those years where she was pictured. I don't think there will ever be anyone who's on more coinage than she. Seriously. I mean, right, you could have a heck of a collection of gold and silver and platinum and palladium, all kinds of things, just because the Queen's on it. Wow. I mean, that's how long and how many different countries coinage she was on. Just fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
I think she was also on a lot of stamps.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no doubt. No doubt. Right. Yes. Posting a letter. I need to post a letter. I've got stamps of the Queen. Yes. Absolutely. Now, I'm anxious to see Maple Leafs from Canada. Obviously, that's a situation where it could be Queen Elizabeth, could be King Charles. Same with the Kangaroos, 2023s from Australia. Haven't seen those yet. We haven't seen the koalas. We haven't seen the 23 kookaburras. So I'm not sure if those will also have the Queen hangover, so to speak, and then later King Charles, or if they're just going to delay their release and just kick them off with King Charles. So kind of an exciting start to the year based on what occurred in the UK last year.
With that said, I would assume that the mints have to go into production, months prior to running the and creating the coins.
Yes, and there's a whole process. My understanding is the most important thing is getting the image and the artwork right. So not only having the royals decide which portrait to use, but then how well did that translate to money? So that's a whole process unto itself. And I wouldn't be surprised if there are some delays related to that specific thing, because that really is what matters, is the image of the personage on the backside of the coin. So the Britannia did not change on the front. The kangaroo did not change on the front, nor did the maple leaf. None of that changed. It's all about replacing the queen and what that's going to look like. So, but other 23 coins, we're starting to get those in. We've got Philharmonics in. We've got Kruger in. Actually, I would say right now, as we record this, Kruger in are probably my most affordable coin in the store. So certainly go check those out.
And that's silver and gold Krugerrands?
Yes, we have gold and silver Krugerrand 2023s. The silver Krugerrand just happened to be the least expensive coin we have in the shop as we record this. So, and it has tiered discounts, which is pretty cool. So it's the least expensive to begin with, and the more you buy, the more you save. So that's a great one. What
other coins do you have kind of laying around, if you will? I'll call them leftovers. Are there leftovers?
Not a lot of leftovers, because we had a really successful Black Friday. And so a lot of those kind of straggler, interesting things kind of got swallowed up there. So we're pretty vanilla right now, but the essentials are there, and they're there in pretty good quantity, which we haven't seen for a while, Mark. I mean, it was, for a while there, we might have 1,000 of this, 1,500 of that. Now we've got much deeper inventory levels than that. So one thing that can be tricky when you've got great pricing is you sell through it and then you got nothing.
Got it.
So we're trying to balance that a little better, but right now I'm really pleased with the variety of the essentials that we have available for our customers right now.
Well, let's take a look at some housekeeping issues. How to buy gold, silver, and other, rounds and coins, because there are some rules that are in place to purchase coins, and I think that's important for people to know and to understand.
Yeah, because we're a website like any other in terms of, if you're purchasing from Amazon and you're having your stuff shipped to you and whatnot. Couple of things right off the bat. The payment method you choose is going to dictate when your order will ship. Okay. Still, one of the favorite ways to pay for precious metals is to pay by personal check. Well, how the heck do you pay by check when you're placing an order on a website? Very simple. You place the order first, and then you mail the check. So the purpose of placing the order first, and you still need to do this, don't just ever send us a check going, here's what it cost on this day, and I'll send this much money for this. No. Make sure you do place the order. We got two main things we want to have happen. One, we want to lock in on the price. Right. When you complete that order, the price is locked, and then we're just going to wait to receive your payment to fulfill the order at that price. Doesn't matter what the market does between when you place the order and when we receive your payment. If the market goes down, we're not going to charge you less. If the market goes up, we're not going to charge you more. We really don't have any way to do that. So it makes sense to say when you're locked, you're locked. Can't change your order. Now, hopefully you don't need to cancel your order because you may be subject to a $35 cancellation fee and any market loss. So why would we say that? What's up with that? Why do you want to penalize me for canceling an order? Okay, let's say you place an order and the market goes down sharply. And you're like, I ain't going to send a check. I ain't losing that money. No way. No, that's not fair. Market loss is real. We locked in at that price just as you did. And so what you're doing is you're leaving us to hold the bag for the loss. That's not fair. Now, you may get away with it once, but you won't get away with it twice. If you want to be a customer of BullionMax, play fair. It's that simple. Okay, so that's one way.
I would assume that's got to be an industry standard.
It is, Mark. Thank you for pointing that out. That is an industry standard, and the cancellation fees vary from $10 to $100, but market loss is always part of it because that's what it's about. You are purchasing something that is of a commodity value. It's like you're buying a stock. You don't get to cancel an order on a stock. If you don't want it anymore, you sell it back. That's how you resolve that transaction. So you're not buying a toaster, you're not buying t-shirts, you're buying financial products. So you have to understand there are a couple of little things, as you said, maybe rules. I hate to say rules. Maybe it's like pirate code. It's guidelines, right? It's guidelines. But still, there's an element of just being fair. You said you wanted this. We held the inventory for you as well. We could have sold it to somebody else.
Right.
So it is not fair if you don't follow through with your transaction. And I know some of you are watching go, Sean, quit whining. You're a company. We're not that big yet. Okay. Little jabs and pokes like this are not healthy for our business. Otherwise, we wouldn't care, right?
Right. Well, let's take a look at that, though. If I buy, let's say I buy $1,000 worth of silver, okay, coins from you, and it goes down by the time I send you the check, which is say 3 to 5 days, depending on where.
The mail.
Yeah. The mail, right.
It varies.
And that's item one. Item two would be you now have the check, you have to clear it. And that's got to take another 2 to 5 days.
4 days.
4 days. Okay.
4 business days. I don't care what form of paper payment it is, 4-day hold. So what I like to say is, if we get paid on Monday, we ship on Friday. And so similarly, we get paid on Tuesday, we ship the following Monday. We get paid on Wednesday, we ship on Tuesday. Again, good housekeeping stuff that I just want to make sure people have heard so they don't go, man, it took forever for the check to get there and then you held it forever. Okay, we told you in checkout that there was going to be a period of holding for the funds. And I believe we said 4 to 7 business days, but it's typically 4 days like clockwork. And you're like, why 4 days? Because they probably took my money on day one. Well, first of all, that doesn't mean we got paid yet.
Right. It takes
why time. The timing is the banks initially have 2 days to present the check and say, this is legit. They also have 48 hours to say, oh, never mind what I said about being legit. The funds aren't there.
Got it.
So we can get checks that come in that initially seem like they're fine, only to find out with the next 48 hours that they're not. That's why 4 days.
Is there a lot of fraudulent behavior? I mean, I know that there is within the precious metals industry, but not so much with checks or personal checks. Cashier's checks and money orders, sure. We see a good bit of fraud with that, and that's why we say we don't accept money orders. Now, this doesn't mean we won't process them if we receive them at the lockbox, because we can't prevent the payment of anything. There's no human who's going to go, oh, we were looking for that. Don't process that one. No, it's all done through automation. So whatever is sent to us
is going to get cashed. So, Mark, let's say we have one of those situations where a check is tardy.
Right.
Okay, let's say we're like 20 days in. And at that point, we certainly would be in contact with the customer and say, is payment on the way, or what's going on here? So we can wait, certainly. You can stop payment on the check and send another check if you want to, if you don't want that one to get processed, or you could just leave it be. And when it shows up, it'll get processed. If it turns out to be it's an extra payment, once we go through the holds of funds to make sure that it's verified, we can refund it. That's not a problem. But sometimes not everybody's got the bandwidth if that's an $8,000 check.
Sure. But 20 days would seem to be excessive. And that's usually because the customer hasn't sent in the check.
No.
Or it got lost.
The mail system sucks, Mark. That's why. I know a lot of people get so frustrated when they're like, I sent it on Monday and here it is Thursday, and they're like yelling at me.
Got it.
It's like, okay, it's okay that it's not here. This is not uncommon. The mail is not what it used to be. Right. Remember when you could post a letter and it'd be there 2 to 3 business days. I don't care where in the United States it's got to go. That is no longer the case. Got to get out of that mindset. It might take as much as 2 weeks.
Well, let's take another look.
Yeah.
You can still pay. Can you pay with a check without sending it in?
You can, and this is also a situation where there's a little bit of confusion. So I'm glad we're talking about this today.
Sure.
We call that an ACH transfer, also known as an e-check. Now, there are some vendors who are able to take your routing number and your account number and turn it into a payment.
Right.
We cannot. I repeat, if you want to pay by just offering your routing number and your account number, that is not a form of payment we can accept. We work with a third party called Plaid. And what happens in that situation is Plaid is the interface that allows you to utilize your online banking to make a payment to any number of different e-commerce sites, not just BullionMax. They're the largest payment processor in the world who works like this. For an ACH, that's our partner. So it's actually part of the checkout process. So where with the paper check, you'd complete the order and you'd send the payment separately. This is actually step 3 of the process.
Okay.
So, but it's going to ask you to log into your online banking, choose the account you want to make the payment, because some people have multiple accounts within their bank, and then once the payment is released by Plaid, excuse me, then we can go ahead and process the order. But that's a minimum of 3 business days. And ACH is not an immediate form of payment. So if you place your order on a Wednesday, for example, and you pay by ACH, it is not going to ship until next week. Because 3 business days, the soonest would be Monday.
But let me ask you, is that a preferred method? I mean, it would seem to me that there's a click and at least the computer system would know, hey, money looks like it's coming. We're going to check it out. It'll take a couple days.
Right. The thing about it is when you place the order, once again, you're locked, just like when you place an order with a paper check, and then the payment will release later. The thing is, you don't have to wait maybe those 10 days in the mail for your payment to show up. You're not counting on anybody but the bank to say the funds are here. Here you go, BullionMax. Now that you've been paid, please ship that order. So I think people tend to think it's an instantaneous payment, but it's not. So there's a holding period of funds, just like a paper check. It's 3 days instead of 4. So you do have an advantage there. Of course, it's a minimum of 3. Sometimes it depends on your bank. We have no control over when Plaid will take funds from you we also don't control when they're going to give funds to us. So, to those of you watching, when your funds are taken on day one, don't be upset with BullionMax if the funds are taken immediately, but then we don't ship for a few days. We haven't been paid yet. And I'll tell you what, we are not shipping precious metals to anyone until we've been paid. Nothing personal.
Of course, that makes sense. And we
Right,
should point
right.
out that the payment processing for credit cards, for ACH, for any payment, there's always a third-party vendor, because I mean, Amazon uses one, uses several most likely. If
Right.
you're buying online, even if you go to the market and you buy groceries, there is a payment processing interface between you and the grocery store. And
Right.
so BullionMax, think of them as a grocery store. Instead of vegetables in a variety of colors, you have precious metals in a variety of colors, and there's that transaction fee. Do you absorb that transaction fee, or
You know,
is that a
we'd
plus?
love to. The industry would love to, but we work at such low margins that we can't. So when you're not using a cash method, it does cost more to purchase your metals. So whether that's credit card, debit card, or PayPal. Now, a lot of people ask about debit card. It's hooked up to my checking account and my bank in my real dollars. Why can't I get the cash price for that? Well, the transaction that we're making does not request your PIN number, which is when you are actually transacting those types of funds. Debit cards still go through credit card processing, which of course has several layers of anti-fraud and other things that we're going to need that payment to go through just to ensure that this is not a fraudulent transaction that happens to be on a debit card instead of a credit card.
And we should point out that that is a protection for both the buyer and BullionMax.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There are another thing that can happen, and in 2023 so far, we're experiencing a great deal of this, which is why I wanted to talk about some of these things.
Right.
Is there are a lot of declines happening when people are using their credit cards for the first time this year. So it is not BullionMax being difficult. It is your bank trying to prevent loss. Now, I've been in the corporate world long enough to know, and in service departments long enough to know, banks hate loss. Your inconvenience doesn't cost them anything.
Right.
Loss does. So, which direction do you think the bank is going to take if there's potential fraud? You're going to be inconvenienced because that's free, and they avoid loss. So hang in there. Again, it's not us causing the problem. It is your bank protecting you, which is always irritating. You just want to make a transaction. So like we said, working with BullionMax and making purchases is very similar to buying from any other website, except these few things. Because sadly, credit card fraud and precious metals go together like PB&J.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they know this.
Right. So they're a little extra cautious.
Excuse me.
Last week or so, we interviewed Emmanuel Daniel. And he's a thought leader in the financial arena. And he was saying that banks as we know them today are going away, that it's the personalization of finances, of banking, where, you know, instead of going through the bank, you and I might come up with some kind of transaction together. And he thinks that that's going to happen more and more, so that banks are going to have to find other revenue streams. It's
absolutely. I think Zelle is a good example of that. I can send thousands of dollars to any individual or a business that I want to. It's not really for making purchases, but I can shuffle funds back and forth very easy. Look at Venmo. Same thing. I'm buying things from you at a garage sale, but I don't have cash with me. Well, guess what? I'll just Venmo you the money. Or I've seen something on Facebook Marketplace that I want to purchase from you. Boom. It's not even so much PayPal anymore, which kind of was that next step in kind of, we don't need a bank. We still need an intermediary of some kind. But wow, totally, this is changing. And so, of course, this is also why you're starting to look at possibly having income taxes apply to these transfers of funds. So, of course, the government knows about it. The banks are not happy about it, but he's absolutely right. This space is changing. How we transact with each other is changing. And by the way, you can't use Zelle to purchase precious metals from.
But
BullionMax.
you can Zelle me money. You said you could send
sure can
dollars. So I'm open for you to send me money.
That's right. Instead of the check is in the bank, the
exactly.
Zelle is on the way.
Exactly. In our remaining time, we have a few minutes left. Let's talk about shipping, because once the money has been processed and you go, okay, we have a client, we're going to send them some gold, silver.
Yes.
And understand that you are actually taking possession of coins, rounds, bars, whatever you're buying. And you should be checking out the BullionMax.com website, because it's got a lot of information there about buying, about selling, and what's available. And the pictures are stunning. I love looking through it, just looking at all those coins that we were talking about at the beginning of this podcast.
Sure.
So shipping, I know, takes place not far from where I live, in the Los Angeles basin.
Los Angeles, yes. As Bugs Bunny used to say, Los Angeles. Yeah, so what's important to know is, as soon as we have a paid order, we're going to try to ship the same day or the next business day. And we've done a pretty good job doing just that. So if you're thinking, well, then how come my ACH didn't ship yet? Remember, holding period first. Then once we have a paid order, same day, next day. But your proximity to Los Angeles is really going to play into how long it's going to take for you to receive your metals. So it seems to be something that's very common. So we've got a lot of people in Florida. Okay, you almost can't be further away from Los Angeles and still be in the United States. Okay, that's a full week. If you ordered something that we would ship out by UPS, which would be anything that contains gold, or maybe something that exceeds value of about $700. Okay, 5 business days, really no exception to that, unless, of course, we've decided to expedite that to you for some reason. But the same is true to get to Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota. They're still so far north that even though they're not all the way on the East Coast, that's a pretty big distance. So you can count on, 4 to 5 business days on a delivery like that. New York certainly takes a full week. New Jersey takes a full week. But there are a couple of things to keep in mind. If it has gold in it, we will require a signature, because our insurance company will require us to require a signature.
Right.
Okay. We get some people who are very upset about this, thinking we don't respect that they are working people, and how the hell am I supposed to sign for this if I'm at work? Okay, we know if you're not working, you can't buy precious metals. So don't think we are dissing the fact that you work at all, or can just come and go as you please to sign for a package. It's an imperfect method. However, it's something any precious metals dealer is going to insist. And maybe not the precious metals dealer. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Let me interrupt and say that this is a protection for the consumer as well as for BullionMax, and possibly that protection is even more for the consumer.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. We all have heard about porch pirates and how deliveries are simply stolen off of porches. And what do I do about it? Well, the best thing is to take possession of the package because you signed for it and bring it in the house.
Right.
Right. If it's not on the porch just sitting there, it's kind of hard to take it from you.
Right.
So that process helps with that. But also, I think it's important to recognize that gold is gold. Once it's stolen, it's easy for it to vanish. So that's why the
word, what
protection
is the word?
vanish.
Oh, vanish. I'm sorry.
Precious metals are one of the most liquid forms and untraceable forms of money that exists. So once you have it, you're free and clear to do with it as you please. Now, if you run down to the pawn shop to sell it, you may run into a little bit of trouble because there's a lot of documentation that's required when you sell it, just as there is when you buy it from them typically. But otherwise, it's really easy to, almost like John Wick, will you do it for a coin, so to speak. Okay. But again, we can help with some of those deliveries. Now, just know our account, our UPS account is locked down. So once we ship an order to an address, we can't change the address. Why not? Because fraudsters would love to call UPS and say that they're from BullionMax. And I'm on the service team and I need to change the address on a package. Okay. This has happened in the past, and if it's not completely locked down, so even BullionMax can't do it, they'll always find some helpful guy at UPS to change the address, and that's how they steal the package.
Got it.
Again, it's a protection. We apologize for the inconvenience, but it's one of those things where it is a far worse experience to have your stuff stolen and have to go through that whole claims process for us to be able to reship your order. That can take a while when it's theft. It's easy to replace your package when it's simply never arrived because the tracking information shows that. Right. There's no, I wonder what happened other than why did that stop in Memphis when it was going to Florida? And then it just stopped, it vanished. Crazy stuff.
Are there any packages that you send that don't require signatures?
Sure. Anything that doesn't contain gold that's about, less than $700 or so. That's kind of our threshold for, do we require a signature? Do we not require a signature? But I know I've also heard from a number of people who want a signature on a package. And I would recommend, since we don't have a way, I know my former employer has a way to check a box and you can pay $5 or whatever and they'll require a signature. Because of course there is a fee to do that. But what I would recommend is add a gold note to the order. It costs $5.39. You've just added gold to your order. Now, I say this now, even though that's the smallest amount of gold you can buy, it is still enough to trigger requiring a signature. So if you want that, if you insist on that, go ahead and try that. Because otherwise I don't have a means to make sure that a signature is required for that particular shipment.
And a gold note is?
The gold back notes, yeah. So it's about $5.39. It contains, I think, 1/1000th of a troy ounce of gold. And actually, you can run a search on BullionMax.com. Just put in the search bar Goldback, GOLDBACK, all one word, no space, and you'll see what this is. If you're not familiar with it, I recommend you check it out and scroll to the bottom of the page where the description is, because there's an awesome video that shows you how the Goldback notes are made. So it's a means of putting precious metals into notes that look like dollar bills, but the precious metals are actually in there. They're infused into the bills. And the thought is, in the future, when all hell breaks loose and the gold market shoots through the roof, these will be amounts of gold that should be easily transferable to be able to, buy a good cup of coffee, buy, a small amount of groceries, things of that nature. They're not quite there yet, given the amount that's baked into the note, so to speak, but they're very pretty. If nothing else, they could be fantastic collector's items based on that.
And they'll save you the shipping, that extra cost.
Because it's got gold in it. Yep.
It's got gold in it.
Way to, like I said, of course, internally we'll change the rule as soon as I've said this now, and I'm going to look like a fool. But for now, try it. Yeah. See if that will trigger a signature. But if you're shipping to a PO box, don't do that. If you're shipping to home, you'll be fine, or to a business. And that's another thing. When we started the business, we said we wouldn't ship to PO boxes. We do. Just make sure that it's your billing address on your credit card. Don't just use a PO box to use a PO box, because you can experience loss there if they put your package in the wrong box and that person picks it up. Do you think you'll ever see it again?
Nope.
No.
Hey, Sean, we are out of time. Thank you for updating us on the housekeeping part of purchasing precious metals from BullionMax. We're going to be back very soon with another episode. And as we go through 2023, keeping an eye on inflation, on the cost of goods, the job market, and of course, looking at the precious metals market, we're going to keep you informed as to what is happening in the precious metals industry. Sean, as always, thank you.
Yeah, it's. I think it's good to sometimes take a moment to talk about these kind of things and set some expectations. Nobody likes being surprised, so I think this was a fun and necessary episode to get out there.
Absolutely. Mark. And I like surprises, but not bad ones, right?
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Birthday surprises are fun. Listen, thanks a lot. Thank you for watching. We invite you to, once again, visit us at BullionMax.com. That's BullionMax.com. For Sean Reynolds, I'm Mark Allen. Sean.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Yes, sir. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. We'll see you on our next episode. Bye-bye for now.